Okay, awesome. Well, again, thank you for agreeing to the interview today. So tell me your name and what do you do?
Hello, my name is Terry Collier, and I work for 3M. I'm the Vice President for Research and Development in the Electrical Markets Division.
So tell me what that looks like on a day-to-day basis.
Sure, this is an incredible, exciting place for us to be because there's so much happening in the electrical market today as we look at the growth of electrification of our energy consumption. And so on a daily basis, we have labs all around the world that I lead as we continue to look at how we develop products for our low, medium, and high voltage underground electricity, as well as solutions for automotive electrification, as well as renewable energy for solar and wind. So it's a really exciting group to be part of, and this is a really exciting time to be part of what's happening in our industry.
And tell me, where were you born and raised?
I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and originally in Pittsburgh. Went to school in Cleveland, Ohio, and did my undergrad in biomedical engineering and my PhD in macromolecular science before moving to Minnesota. Lived in St. Paul, Minnesota for about 15 years, working for 3M before I got the opportunity to come here to Austin.
Awesome. Wow. Can you spell that, like within 2 seconds? What was it you majored in?
Macromolecular science, so big molecules.
Awesome. Wow. And what got you interested in that?
I was absolutely fascinated initially at how the body worked. It's just an incredible system. And as I began to understand how the body worked, really was amazed at how much science and materials could go inside of the body. And so really got interested in understanding how you could put something in the body and what would happen when it went inside the body and how it changes over time. But what I really began to understand is how so many of the areas that we look at are all systems, and how each of these systems all have to come together in order to have an ultimate, to have the goal of what you want to have happen ultimately happen. And so really enjoyed that systems types of thinking, and learned a lot about surface characterization, modifying surfaces, and just overall material performance, and found that that was applicable to so many spaces that we could work in. And so I've gotten the opportunity to work in a number of different areas, all with some of these core skill sets.
Awesome. And so tell me what it was like growing up was it Cleveland, you said?
So grew up in Pittsburgh and then moved to Cleveland. So growing up in Pittsburgh was great. It's a blue collar town, and I grew a very, very good work ethic, which is work hard, keep going, get a lot of grit, and ultimately you'll get to the goal. And so that was something I learned early on from my family and from the community that I grew up in. Like many of us, I grew up in a Baptist church, and so had lots of family that surrounded me in the church, where we spent a lot of time as a kid. And so that was a lot of my upbringing, and just had some great opportunities. There was a lot of medical technology that was happening at the time in Pittsburgh. And so I got to learn quite a bit about that space, and got just a tremendous amount of folks who surrounded me that really helped me along the way through a number of opportunities I got to have, which I'm really grateful and thankful for. And so from there, I got to move to Cleveland, which is a very similar town to Pittsburgh, just about 2.5 hours away, and had a great experience there as well, even though I do remain a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Oh, no. Cowboy Nation, man.
I know.
Oh my gosh. All right. So so tell me how you got started in technology.
Really just having I was always good at math and science, and was absolutely terrible in English. And so you start to think about the career paths where you can do more math and science and less English, and technology comes to the top of that list. Also just an incredible fascination at how things work. I think there are so many things that surround us that we take for granted. I'm always amazed that when you think about our visual system and how we see the world, and how we see such a narrow band of radioactive frequencies that we can see, but how many others there are out there. For example, your cell phone is working, And while your cell phone is working, it's really incredible that there's a signal that connects your cell phone to a cell tower that you don't see, you can't feel, you can't sense, or even the wireless internet we're using today right now on this call. That it's there, it's a solid connection, but I can't see it or sense it in any shape, way, or form. And so just became fascinated with how much that was around us that we just take for granted and use every day, and really wanted to be part of that. So have been really excited, because when you think about electricity, the outlet that you're plugged into or using at your house is directly connected to a power generation plant somewhere miles and miles away. Yet it's all invisible, all works seamlessly most of the time, and we get power for where we need it and when we need it.
So tell me, what advice would you give someone who's looking to go into technology?
Learn to ask questions and realize how much that everyone doesn't know anyway. And so I think the fascinating thing to me is that the people who are the greats in science are the people who just really ask questions and really try to understand what was going on around them. And I encourage anyone who's interested to ask those questions to anyone and everyone around you of why. Don't get out of that 5-year-old stage of asking why. So many of us get concerned about how we're perceived or how people may think about us. But the people who get the degrees and ultimately are in some of these roles ask why more than anyone else. So I would encourage you, as you're thinking about science, if you're thinking about technology, continue to ask why. Look to understand how things truly work. And there's so many things around us that I think are absolutely fascinating to learn about and have so many applications in other places. If you think about electric vehicles, where so many people have thought about it, talked about it, and it's really exciting to see some of the trends that are happening now in electric vehicles just because someone tried. And so that next someone could be you. So don't not try, don't not think, don't not ask the questions, because it's amazing that sometimes it'll be an aha moment, which is really what's required. And I love the examples from many of the scientists like Thomas Edison, that basically says, I tried something thousands of times, I failed 1,000 times, and just how much failure is associated with trying and experimenting. And we come up with fancy words like, I'm going to do an experiment because I have no idea what's going to happen and I may fail. But that's part of the scientific process. It's trying something, potentially failing, learning, and then pivoting and doing the next thing. And so I think we've created a great framework in science around some of the things that we all feel very uncomfortable about, which is not knowing the answer and potentially failing, which is what science and learning and technology is all about.
Awesome. What do you like most about your job?
I love working with people and helping people achieve goals. There's nothing more exciting than being surrounded by incredibly smart people. And I get to do that here at 3M, of just have an amazing team. And what's really fun about it is getting all the ideas coming together, getting a group of people really challenging each other's assumptions and figuring out that big picture and that big strategy. And then once we figure out that big strategy, really executing on how we do it, and really looking at each and every step compared to our overall strategy, and then really proving out what do we know, what do we not know, doing those experiments. So maybe tied into that first question you asked, which is, what is it about science and how do I encourage, is experimenting. And I loved experimenting, really testing out our ideas, really testing out our hypotheses and our assumptions, and figuring out how we can help people do things they couldn't do before. There's nothing more exciting than working with customers or working with some of our partners. And we talk about micro paradigm shifts, which is, I've always had this trade-off that I've been working on, and helping someone see things in a different way, help them be able to do something in a different way that allows them to break that paradigm shift and do something they couldn't do before. Has been really exciting for me to be part of and to see on a number of programs that I've gotten to be part of.
Awesome. My apologies for that earlier. So tell me about one moment or experience that changed your way of thinking about life.
Oh, that's a great question. Maybe just probably more personal than typical. But about 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with a heart issue. It was a birth defect I had, and in my mid 40s, they identified a birth defect, which was incredible. And so, from a personal standpoint, it was a real shock to have to do something about it. So again, something that you can't see, you can't feel. I was in great shape and having and working well. to discover that I had an issue to deal with in my heart. And I was fortunate enough to be able to have surgery. Everything worked out great. I'm healthy now. But you really begin to look at life differently and how important relationships are, and how you really need to spend your time and have impact. So I think the thing that moment and opportunity really left me with is really being able to say, what impact am I having by what I'm doing? So often we get caught up in just what has to get done, but we don't ask those challenging questions of impact and how we can make a difference, because every day is not promised. And we're really fortunate to be able to have the opportunities we have to be able to have that impact. So that's what I would say on a personal level. And then certainly on a professional level, I've had so many wonderful opportunities that really transformed how I see and experience things. And a number of programs I've gotten to be involved in that you are one track. And maybe one story is I got to be part of a project, and we were working really hard on the project, and we were really excited about meeting our technical milestones, all to find out that it was a business transactional issue that inhibited us from having success. And so it really helped me see the larger framework. And because of that, I went back and I did my MBA and got a business degree to really begin understanding and have that full perspective of what it takes to have a successful commercialization, and to really have a passion around creating value with technology, which is what I've then been doing for the past 10 years of not just developing technology, but how do you create value for your customers, your partners, and our team based upon that technology we're developing.
So you not only got your degree, but you went and got your PhD. So tell me about that, and what sparked that, and why that was important for you.
Yeah, so I getting a PhD was an incredible transformative experience for me, because again, asking those questions of why and getting the opportunity just to really dig in, do some experiments and understanding. Again, it was an incredible time. So I did my PhD in inflammable biomaterials, and it was a time in which there were just a number of really incredible technologies that were coming together. So it was nanolithography, so being able to create nanostructure surfaces. So if you imagine the backside of a CD, and if you remember what a CD is, and if you look at the backside of that CD and you tilt it off angle, you see it scattering different colors. So that's because of nanostructures that are on the back that bend different wavelengths of light, different ways you see colors. But we were creating those structures. We were able to control the chemistry that was going on those structures. And then there were also just an incredible number of tools being built at the time, such as RT-PCR, which many of us probably are much more familiar with now around some of the COVID testing that's done, which that's used for, as well as confocal microscopy, which was really developing in fluorescent technology. So we put all those things together and created a really interesting system to be able to test the understanding of how proteins absorbed onto surfaces and how cells attach to that surface. So again, understanding that system, being able to really examine a number of mechanisms to understand what was happening, challenging our assumptions, and then doing those experiments to then get some data to then take you on to the next question. So I think you can tell I never grew out of that 5-year-old stage. I love asking questions and then doing some experiments to then be able to validate what we've learned, and then take advantage of that mechanism to continue to move forward. So that's been an area I've always enjoyed, help encourage others to jump into and use on a daily basis to have an impact on our business.
Awesome. So I actually saw Tim Ferriss has a bunch of questions, and I found a few of them very interesting. So I added them to my list. And one of them is, if you had a gigantic billboard anywhere and you could put anything on it, what would be your message? And you're speaking to millions or billions of people. What would be your message?
That's a great question. If I had a gigantic billboard, what would I put on it?
To reach millions.
The area that first just comes to mind is believe in yourself and try it. And obviously that comes with some framework and some guardrails, obviously. But the thing I think so many of us struggle with, and maybe I started already, is with, I think many people struggle with believing in themselves and really jumping out and trying. And you know, I think you're a great example of that as well. But of really just being inspired. So many of us have ideas as kids. We believe there's nothing we can't do, and then as we grow up and become adults, we then have um, we have doubts, we don't believe, we get concerned. And so really what I have a passion about is helping people believe that they can do. I mean, the biggest challenge we have is that happens between our two ears in our brain of convincing ourselves we can go do these things. And so continue to, that's what that billboard would say, really, because we want, you know, many of us have to continue to believe that we can do things. It's really that faith piece that comes out, right? Is seeing without, believing without seeing, right? And how do you really have that faith that you can do something, you can grow something, you can create something? And I think that's what so much of commercialization is all about. Is we have a vision of what we want to create, of the difference we want to make, and then working through the process to figure out how to get from where we are today to where we want to go. And you know, it's been great to do that on the science and the technology and the commercialization space for our business, but also at 3M, we've really taken on a desire to do that with students, of committing 300,000 hours of volunteer time by 2025 for students, and we're really jumping into much of the social justice space. 3M is based in Minnesota, and as a Minnesota-based company, really was devastated by the murder of George Floyd. And with that happening, has really stepped up. It's been a phenomenal time to be part of 3M, to be able to be part of some of these discussions and really help inspire students, and both in STEM area and skilled trades. So we've been excited about being able to do that and help students believe that, and go try some of these things that they may not believe they could do or have been exposure to. Because I think about the exposure I got is seeing and believing someone could be a scientist. As a kid growing up, I didn't know any other Black scientists outside of, you know, George Washington Carver, who I think was kind of the folklore for scientists for us as kids. And so it's been great to be able to see more scientists to be part, and hopefully be part of that system of encouraging others to get to believe and to go try.
That's pretty awesome. So I think you talked about a little bit, but share with me some of the work that you do in the community. How do you give back?
Yeah, so that's a really exciting place to be at this point. So a couple of areas that we do is mentoring and tutoring. So it's been a lot of fun to be able to go into classes and do experiments, and to be able to do science. And first, it's just fun to be able to do. I enjoy that of being able to do experiments with kids, to be able to go to a school. We have some kits. So at 3M, we have what's called 3M Visiting Wizards. So it's this system where they have kits that you can go out with. You take these kits and you do an experiment, and you get to teach about anything from optics, of how do we see colors, to things such as chemistry type lessons as well. And we focus on electricity here in Austin based upon the business that we are in electrical markets. And so it's been so much fun to be able to go out and see just the eyes of kids kind of open as what looks like magic to them is really science. And then the other piece that's really exciting about it is just being able to look like what I do, and for have kids to be able to see me as well, and to know that, hey, if I can do it, you can too. And so that's been a really fun part about being involved in the community.
That's awesome. How long have you been in Austin?
For 4 years.
Okay. And where'd you come from?
So I was in St. Paul, Minnesota. So I am very glad not to have snow, except I had a brief relapse last winter where we got a little snow here, which was quite the shock to, I think, many of us. But it's been wonderful. You know, we really like the community here in Austin. It's been incredible as we've explored so many places in this area that are just great to be part of. So we truly feel part of the Austin community now, and really glad to be here.
How would you describe Austin?
You know, Austin's been, I would describe Austin by really saying, it's really an eclectic group of people. So when you think about just how many people are not from here, it's been great for us as also being a transplant of just getting to meet so many people that are continuing to build relationships. And, so many people are moving here that just don't know a lot of people. And so it's been fun as we've connected with different people across many of the activities we do. It's been fun to be able to meet people, connect with people. And I love the fact that there are so many of us techies here in Austin. So that's a great community to be part of. We love the outdoor nature of Austin, that outdoor is part of your life all year round. And we really enjoy that. It's very active. We've never walked so much as we have walked for some of the things that happen here in Austin. So it's great. We really enjoy it. And again, are glad to be part of the community and continue to look forward to plugging in, and really excited about being honored here.
What are your life lessons that you've learned?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I think the first area goes back to that billboard of really believing yourself and try it. I think so many times that we limit ourselves because what we aren't willing to step out and do. So that would be the first one. The second is a corollary to that, which is show up. It's incredible how much happens when you simply show up. And you may not have it all figured out. Many times I haven't had it all figured out. When I started my PhD program, I didn't have it figured out. I really didn't know what I was going to do. And it was incredible of showing up and working hard and putting the time in. It's amazing at how things will happen. I talk to our team about this all the time of we've got to be ready, and ready when that right moment comes. And it's, there are many analogies you can use. One might be a football, and it's like the running back just waiting for that hole to open up. They have the ball, they've got some time, and they're waiting just for that right moment. If you go too quickly or you go too late, you'll miss that hole or that opportunity. And I think life is so much of that same way, of really continuing to look, observe, wait, and then take that right moment. And I think so often, many times we get excited, we jump too early. Sometimes we jump too late as we continue to do analysis and want more information, but really understanding how to find that right balance. So I would say just showing up, work hard, be prepared. Success always favors the prepared. So always being prepared as we do so many things. And then, the value of relationships. It's incredible at how, as you just connect with people, how many things just appear. It's been great as we've met people here in Austin. Some of our best friends, some of my best friends now here in Austin. It's just incredible at just how blessed you end up being just in some of those connections with people. So I would also just the life lesson is really about how do you connect with people. And then the last area I like to think that I think pulls and sums all these together is the difference between risk and courage. And really thinking about what do I want to be courageous about, and those things I want to be courageous about, how do I then go take those risks and really manage my courage versus just taking risk.
You're an awesome interview. It's just awesome. I'm loving it. Oh my gosh. You should be a teacher. I mean, you just have that passion for what you, this is just amazing. This is why I love doing what I do. Okay, so here's the.
I'm just disappointed I can't see you and like reverse and have the same conversation with you, just so you know.
It's so yeah, and you know what I think I did is I really believe that I clicked no on the video, and so I don't know how to fix it. So I'm so sorry.
Well, I'll tell you, I just loved seeing your story. I mean, you seem to have such an interesting story, and so I'm very much looking forward to connecting and meeting you and hearing your story from military and just kind of everything and how you ended up doing this. It just seems fascinating.
I will tell you, it's just like you having this opportunity in Austin and not seeing a lot of us, and then recognizing that there's an opportunity to help more of our people, be successful. But not only that, just sharing stories of some of these phenomenal people like you, because a lot of times we hear all these stories about there's not a lot of Black people in tech, and so when I first started doing this, and I remember I'm a member of the Greater Austin Chamber, and they were like, and so one of the ladies there, she's kind of like my mentor, and she goes, well, do you think you're going to be able to find enough people every year? And I was like, yeah, I think so. Because I mean, our first list was phenomenal. And, the second one is just out. I mean, it's just as phenomenal. I mean, this is insane. And, people, they come to me like, like I'm this, community whisperer, you know, that that I know everybody. And it's like, I know hardly none of you guys. It's just that, thank God people tell me about you guys. And, we have this opportunity to share your story with so many other people because, I mean, this is amazing. I mean, it's just amazing. Just like I said, I mean, people see okay, here, I'm trying to click onto my other computer to maybe figure out how I can at least, I think I said no.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, I think that's what I did. Let's
Ooh,
see.
dropped.
Okay. Now it's still weird. How about that?
There you are. I don't hear you now. I think you've muted both of yourselves.
Okay.
All right, that's good.
All right. So I think I'm going to have to mute this one. 'Cause this one is. This one. Okay. How about this?
Perfect.
Okay. So what's funny is, you could hear me, but you couldn't see me.
Mhm.
Most people would say they probably want to see me because I talk too much. So I'm gonna, but anyway, I'm going to hide myself anyway. I'm going to hide myself from this room. So get you back up there. Opposite. You're going to have to say something so that I can bring you back up.
Okay, can you hear me?
Okay, there we go.
Am I back?
Yeah, let me figure out how to get me off. See
I
what
love that. That background is beautiful. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously a picture, but I love
I
the.
know. It's, being in the military, it's like, we don't have, everything is just like everybody else. So now you can kind of, I'm totally confused on where I am and what I'm doing.
So I see your original. The sound is coming from your original sign in.
Okay. 'Cause I don't,
Is where I see you. And one has your picture and one has your name.
okay, got it. It's just hard to do. I just can't. All right, let me see if I can take control of this one. Maybe that would help.
Sorry, I hope I didn't mess you up.
No, I think I can. I hope you have a few more minutes. I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think there is a way if I sign out of here. Sign close to this one.